I was 3 days into a salvage run through the outer reach when my scanner picked up the debris field, massive enough to be a capital ship, scattered enough to suggest violent destruction rather than controlled decommission. Standard salvage protocol says you catalog the wreckage, check for viable components, and move on without getting involved in whatever conflict created the debris in the first place. I was doing exactly that, running my scanner through twisted hull fragments and disabled weapon systems, when I heard something that shouldn't exist in the vacuum of a destroyed ship: crying. Not distress beacon signals or automated emergency broadcasts, actual quiet sobbing, barely audible through my suit's external audio pickups. I followed the sound to a partially intact section of what looked like passenger quarters, far more luxurious than military standard, and found her huddled in a corner surrounded by debris and emergency containment fields that were failing. She was alien, species I didn't immediately recognize, humanoid but with delicate crystalline features and pale blue skin marked with bioluminescent patterns that were barely glowing, suggesting severe injury or exhaustion. Her clothing was torn and stained with what was probably her blood, and she was crying with the kind of hopeless desperation that comes from believing no one will find you and that death is just a matter of time. I should have called it in to authorities, let proper rescue services handle whatever political situation created this destruction. Instead, I triggered my emergency medical protocols and said the dumbest thing I could have said. "I'm here to help. Can you move?" She looked at me with large alien eyes full of shock and disbelief, and I realized I'd just committed to rescuing someone from wreckage that was probably created by people who very much wanted everyone on this ship dead. But she was crying, alone and dying, and I apparently couldn't just leave someone in that situation even when the smart choice was walking away. I had no idea I'd just found Princess Lyanna Vel'shar, heir to an empire spanning 400 systems, or that her survival would pull me into assassination plots, interstellar politics, and a connection that would change everything between humans and her people. I just knew someone was crying in the ruins, and I couldn't leave them there to die alone. The rescue is complicated by the fact that she's badly injured, and the wreckage is actively decomposing. Hull breaches expanding, containment fields failing, structural integrity degrading by the minute. Ethan works quickly, stabilizing her injuries enough that she can survive transport, rigging a temporary life support system, because her biology is different enough from human that standard emergency equipment isn't quite adequate. She doesn't speak during the rescue, just watches him with those large alien eyes that seem to be evaluating whether he's genuine help or another threat she needs to defend against. Getting her back to his ship requires navigating through unstable wreckage, while essentially carrying someone who's semi-conscious and can't communicate about her physical limits. Ethan is a salvage pilot, not a medic, and he's making decisions based on general knowledge of trauma response, and a lot of hoping he's not making things worse. By the time he gets her secured in his ship's small medical bay, he's exhausted, and she's unconscious, her breathing shallow and her bioluminescent patterns barely visible. His ship's medical systems are designed for human biology with some basic alien compatibility protocols, but they're struggling to assess her condition accurately. Ethan ends up doing a lot of improvisation, synthesizing medications based on partial biological data, using his engineering knowledge to adapt medical equipment for her physiology, essentially treating her like a complex system that needs stabilization even when he doesn't fully understand how all the components work together. She remains unconscious for 18 hours while his ship travels toward the nearest station with proper medical facilities. Ethan uses that time to try to identify her species and figure out what he's gotten himself into. Her clothing, though damaged, is extremely high quality, materials and construction that suggest wealth and status far beyond normal civilians. The wreckage she came from wasn't a commercial vessel or military transport. It was something specialized and expensive, destroyed with the kind of thoroughness that speaks to intentional elimination rather than random pirate attack. When she finally regains consciousness, her first reaction is panic. She tries to get up, fails because her injuries are still severe, and looks around with obvious fear until her eyes find Ethan. He raises his hands in non-threatening gesture and speaks carefully. "You're safe. You're on my ship. I found you in the wreckage and brought you here for medical treatment. My name is Ethan Wade. Can you understand me?" She stares at him for a long moment, processing, then responds in accented but clear standard language. "You rescued me from the ship. Why? That wreckage should be classified as incident site. No unauthorized salvage, no rescue operations without military authorization. You shouldn't have been there. I didn't know it was restricted. I'm independent salvage, working uncharted sectors. I found the debris field and was assessing it when I heard you crying. I couldn't just leave someone alive in failing wreckage." Ethan keeps his voice calm and non-threatening, trying to reassure someone who's clearly terrified despite being rescued. "Who sent you? Which faction contracted you to search the ruins? What's your objective regarding survivors?" Her fear is taking the form of interrogation, like she's trying to determine if he's part of whatever destroyed her ship or a different threat entirely. "No one sent me. I'm independent contractor doing standard salvage work. I found you by accident and chose to help because leaving someone to die seemed wrong. That's the entire story. No conspiracy, no faction objectives, just one person helping another person who needed help." She looks at him with obvious skepticism, like the concept of unaffiliated rescue is too improbable to accept easily. "You risked entering incident wreckage, exposed yourself to potential legal consequences and factional retaliation, all to rescue someone you didn't know and weren't contracted to save. That's either remarkably altruistic or extremely poor strategic thinking. Probably the second one, honestly. But you were crying and dying and I couldn't walk away from that. So here we are. You're injured but stable. I'm probably in trouble I don't fully understand yet. And we're 3 days from the nearest station where I can get you proper medical treatment." Ethan checks her medical readings, noting they've improved but are still concerning. "I'm going to need to know your name and species for medical documentation, and probably what happened to your ship, so I understand what kind of danger we're in." She's quiet for a long time, clearly weighing how much to reveal. Finally, she speaks with careful precision. "My name is Lyanna. I'm Vel'shar, and what happened to my ship is complicated and dangerous for anyone who learns about it. You should have left me in the wreckage where I was supposed to die." "Yeah, well, I didn't. So we're dealing with the complicated and dangerous situation together now. Can you tell me why someone wanted you dead badly enough to destroy an entire ship?" "Because she stops, reconsiders what she was about to reveal. "Because I witnessed something I shouldn't have. Because my continued existence is inconvenient for powerful people. Because sometimes being who you are makes you a target, and the people meant to protect you decide you're more valuable dead than alive." It's not a complete answer, and Ethan knows she's concealing significant information. But he also recognizes someone traumatized and terrified. Pushing for details she's not ready to share would damage the fragile trust they're establishing. "Okay, you don't have to tell me everything right now. Just focus on recovering. We'll figure out the rest as we go." Lyanna looks at him with an expression that suggests she's never encountered anyone quite like him. Someone who rescued her without demanding explanations, who's providing medical care without interrogating her about her value or strategic importance. "Why are you helping me? You know I'm dangerous to be around, that my presence puts you at risk. Most people would have left me or would be demanding compensation for the rescue. You're doing neither. Because you needed help and I could provide it. That seems like sufficient reason without requiring strategic calculation." Over the following days, as Lyanna recovers, Ethan learns that she's intelligent, educated, and carrying trauma that goes beyond just the assassination attempt. She's careful about revealing personal information, deflecting questions about her background while asking him about his work, his life, his reasons for choosing solitary salvage contracts in uncharted space. Their conversations develop an unexpected intimacy born from isolation. She's recovering in a small ship with nowhere to hide. He's providing constant care that requires physical proximity and vulnerability. Ethan notices details that don't align with her presentation as a simple witness to something dangerous. Her bearing is too refined, her knowledge of interstellar politics too detailed, her expectations about how she should be treated too elevated for someone who's just a civilian caught in wrong place. But he doesn't push, letting her maintain whatever privacy she needs while focusing on her physical recovery. She's fascinated by his casual egalitarianism, the way he treats her as an equal despite her species difference, the way he asks her preferences about food and environment rather than just imposing what's easiest. She's clearly not accustomed to being asked what she wants or having her comfort prioritized without elaborate negotiation or power dynamics. "You're remarkably unintimidated by me," she observes during one conversation while he's checking her healing wounds. "Most people who encounter Vel'shar are either hostile or excessively deferential. You're neither. Should I be intimidated? You're injured and recovering in my medical bay. Doesn't seem like a situation requiring intimidation." Ethan adjusts the medical scanner, noting her biosigns continue improving. "My species has complicated relationship with humans, historical conflicts, ongoing political tensions, mutual suspicion. Most humans who encounter Vel'shar approach the interaction with significant caution. I'm a salvage pilot working uncharted sectors because I prefer avoiding complicated political situations. Your species' politics aren't really relevant to my decision to help you when you were dying." He says this matter-of-factly, without judgment, and watches Lyanna process this perspective. That's remarkably refreshing attitude. Most people's treatment of me is heavily influenced by species considerations and political calculations. You're ignoring all of that. I'm treating you like a person who needed medical help and is now recovering on my ship. Your species affects the medical treatment, but not whether you deserve help or how I interact with you. That seems pretty straightforward. Lyanna is quiet for a moment, her bioluminescent patterns shifting through colors he's learning to associate with complex emotional processing. "You really don't know who I am, do you? You genuinely rescued me just because I was injured, without any awareness of my identity or significance. Should I know who you are? Are you famous or something?" Ethan is genuinely confused by this line of questioning. She stops again, still not ready to reveal her full identity. "I'm someone whose rescue will have significant political implications once people learn I survived. Someone who was supposed to die in that wreckage, whose continued existence will create complications for multiple factions. You've become involved in something much larger than one person's survival. Okay, but right now, you're still recovering and we're still several days from the nearest station. We can worry about political complications when you're actually healthy enough to deal with them." His practical focus on immediate medical needs over abstract political concerns is clearly foreign to Lyanna, like she's spent her entire life dealing with people who prioritize political implications over present reality. She watches him work with an expression that suggests she's reevaluating fundamental assumptions about how people interact. The turning point comes when Ethan's long-range scanners detect 3 ships on intercept course, military-grade vessels moving at speeds that suggest pursuit rather than patrol. He runs identification protocols and discovers they're Vel'shar military, searching the region around the debris field systematically, and they're going to encounter his ship within hours. He finds Lyanna in the medical bay and shows her the scanner data. "We've got incoming. Vel'shar military, 3 ships clearly searching for something. I'm guessing that something is related to you. I need to know what I'm dealing with before they get here. Lyanna looks at the scanner data, and her bioluminescent patterns flash through colors indicating fear and resignation. They're searching for survivors from the incident. Specifically, they're searching for confirmation that no one survived. If they find me alive, they'll either kill me to complete the assassination or capture me to prevent me from revealing who ordered my death. So we're not hailing them for rescue. Got it. Can you tell me now who you actually are and why Vel'shar military wants you dead? She takes a breath, accepting she can no longer maintain her concealment. My name is Lyanna Vel'shar. I'm third princess of the Vel'shar Empire, heir to throne after my two older siblings. The ship you found me on was my private transport, destroyed on orders of a faction within our government that has decided my existence threatens their political agenda. They staged an incident that should have killed everyone on board, including me, and are now conducting search operations to confirm no survivors before announcing my tragic death. Ethan stares at her, processing this information and its implications. Your royalty. I rescued alien royalty from an assassination attempt and have been treating you like a regular person for 3 days while you recovered on my salvage ship. And now the people who tried to kill you are going to find us in approximately 4 hours. Yes, I should have told you sooner, but I wanted to experience being treated like a regular person for just a little while. No one has interacted with me as simply Lyanna instead of Princess Lyanna in longer than I can remember. You didn't know who I was, so you treated me as an equal, asked me what I wanted, cared about my comfort without political calculation. That was. She pauses, her patterns shifting to colors he associates with vulnerability. That was precious. And now I've put you in danger because I was selfish enough to want a few days of normal interaction before reality intruded. The immediate crisis is avoiding the search vessels while figuring out what to do with a princess, who's supposed to be dead and wants to stay that way until she can reach safety. Ethan's ship isn't designed for combat or sophisticated evasion. It's a working salvage vessel with basic defensive systems and no real capacity for outrunning military ships. But he knows these uncharted sectors better than most, and he's got enough creativity with engine configuration to potentially stay ahead of systematic search patterns. Can you trust anyone in the Vel'shar government? Anyone who would protect you instead of completing the assassination? Ethan is already plotting potential courses away from the search vessels, calculating jump points and hiding spots in the sector's asteroid fields. My eldest sister, Crown Princess Sera. She wasn't part of the conspiracy. She's been investigating suspicious activities within the military council. If I can reach her, she'll provide protection and help expose the traitors. But she believes I'm dead, and every official channel is monitored by the conspirators. I have no way to contact her safely. What about unofficial channels? Back doors, personal communications, anything that bypasses monitored systems. Ethan is thinking like an engineer, looking for system vulnerabilities rather than official protocols. Lyanna considers this carefully. There's an old emergency frequency we established as children for private communication. It hasn't been used in years and probably isn't monitored because it's buried in obsolete protocols. If I could access a communications array powerful enough to reach Vel'shar space, I could try contacting her directly. The mining station at Kess Point has commercial communications arrays I've used for long-range salvage coordination. It's 4 days from here if we avoid the search pattern, and the station is neutral territory, so there's no automatic Vel'shar military authority. We get there, you send your message, and we hope your sister responds before the conspirators figure out where you are. It's a plan with multiple failure points, but it's better than just running until fuel or supplies run out. They spend the next 4 days evading search vessels through creative use of asteroid fields and system debris, with Lyanna providing insight about Vel'shar military search protocols. and Ethan using his salvage expertise to hide among wreckage that scanners typically ignore. During this time, their relationship shifts from patient rescuer to something more collaborative. Lyanna demonstrates sharp strategic thinking and extensive knowledge of military operations that helps them stay ahead of the search. Ethan shows resourcefulness and calm under pressure that impresses someone accustomed to elaborate security measures and train protection details. They talk during the long hours between evasion maneuvers. Lyanna describes growing up as third princess, visible enough to have political significance, but distant enough from the throne that she wasn't prepared for the assassination politics that apparently target even peripheral royal family members. She talks about the isolation of being someone whose value is determined by bloodline rather than personal qualities, about never being certain if people value her or her position. You're the first person in my adult life who's interacted with me without the weight of my title affecting every word and action. You argued with me about medical treatment protocols. You told me my strategic suggestions were impractical. You treated me like an equal whose opinions mattered but weren't automatically correct just because I'm royalty. That's remarkably rare. Ethan understands she's describing a particular kind of loneliness, being surrounded by people, but never experiencing genuine connection unfiltered by power dynamics. Being royalty sounds exhausting if you can never have actual conversations without political calculation. It is, and it's why these days with you, even while running from assassination, have been some of the most genuine interactions I've experienced. You see me as Lyanna who needs help and has useful knowledge, not as Princess Lyanna whose every word requires careful diplomatic interpretation. When they reach Kess Point, the plan executes smoothly until the moment Lyanna's emergency message to her sister triggers automated alerts in systems they didn't know were monitoring obsolete frequencies. Within hours, both the conspirators searching for Lyanna and Crown Princess Sera's loyal forces are converging on the station. The confrontation is tense, but resolves when Sera arrives first, confirming Lyanna's identity and immediately establishing protective custody. The relief in both sisters' reunion is visible, but so is Sera's sharp assessment of Ethan and his role in Lyanna's survival. You rescued my sister from assassination wreckage, provided medical care without knowing her identity, protected her from military pursuit, and delivered her safely to my protection. The Vel'shar Empire owes you a debt that transcends normal diplomatic gratitude. Sera speaks with formal authority but genuine appreciation. I just helped someone who needed help. Didn't do it expecting payment or political favors. Ethan is uncomfortable with the formal recognition, more concerned about whether Lyanna is actually safe now. Sera regards him thoughtfully. That attitude is precisely why my sister trusted you. You treated her as a person rather than a political asset. That's valuable beyond measure in circles where everyone has calculated agenda. In the aftermath, as Lyanna recovers fully under proper royal medical care, and the conspiracy is exposed and neutralized, Ethan prepares to return to his salvage work. Lyanna finds him before he departs, her bioluminescent patterns showing colors he's learned to read as complex emotion. Thank you for hearing me crying in the ruins, for choosing to help when walking away would have been safer, for treating me as someone worth caring about beyond my political value, for giving me a few days of genuine human connection when I needed it most desperately. You saved my life, but more than that, you reminded me that I'm a person beyond my title. You were crying and alone and I couldn't leave you there. Everything